tagline. My Millennium Eye sees all Yugi. Hello?
I bet you weren't expecting me so soon, were you, boy?
No, I wasn't. I gotta be honest, Mr. Pegasus. I didn't think you'd show up at all.
Well, it's certainly an honor to be here on such a wonderful show.
That's not great.
I am here to show off the new cards from the Forbidden Release. I first send my Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus to the graveyard.
Nice.
To special summon my dear Bellstar the Black Witch.
Pegasus, this isn't like you at all. What? These are good cards. Well, one of these is.
Where are the
You
tunes?
remember whenever I played the Burning Abyss, whenever they were first introduced, do you not?
Yeah, that is true. That's a bit of deep Pegasus lore.
I use my dear Bellstar's effect in order to set the original Sinful Boys
Last
Snake Eye
match was
to my
void
field.
anyway.
I use it in order to tribute
I wanna
to
try
my
hand
dear
traps again.
Bellstar for Snake Eye's Ash.
Okay.
Its effect shall get me Poplar in order to revive my Ash.
I gotta say, this is looking pretty normal, Pegasus, with exactly one exception.
We'll get there. I use my Snake Eye Ash and Snake Eye's Poplar to link summon the Link 2 monster, Cross Sheep. Now, I use my Cross Sheep and my Snake Eyes Dear Bellstar in order to link summon the Link 2 Sprite Sprint. This,
Okay.
my friend, is where things get interesting.
Motherfucking Ash Blossom does nothing
Sprint
here.
shall send from my deck to the graveyard the Esteller of the White Forest.
Oh, okay.
I use the effect of my Snake Eye Oak, sending my Divine Temple of the Snake Eye in order to special summon the Snake Eye's Flamber's Dragon.
There he is.
This triggers my Esteller of the White Forest in the graveyard. And I get to special summon it. I believe that I've been losing the voice, but I will continue. I will use my Esteller
I
of the
believe
White
I am.
Forest to
Yeah,
send the Poplar
this one's
to my
still
place
good,
of
but
field in
I
order
can
to
tell this
special
was the
summon
hardest so
Sylvia
far.
of the White Forest. Now, I activate the effect of the Fiend's
May as
Smith
well
Engraver
Ash
that's
Blossom
been
this.
my
Oh, I see.
This is the only point we can Ash Blossom
Fiend's
Malice.
Track. Now, you'll see much more soon enough, my friend. I use my Reclay's effect in order to send tracks to the graveyard. And I use my Elzet Azamina of the White Forest. The Deception of the Sinful Spoils.
Oh, God.
While Reclaya adds the regular Elzet of the White Forest.
Okay,
My
okay.
voice is so
Now they don't have their field
It's just
spell.
me getting into
What
the
a tragedy.
spirit of things.
Yeah, I have to agree.
I activate my Hollowed Azamina, revealing from my deck, or from my extra deck rather, the Royal Rare Azamina Mu Rusialago. Now, I activate the Mu Rusialago in order to add the Queen Azamina to my hand.
Oh, okay.
Now, for a card you all in the trading card game section of this game might miss, I overlay my Mu Rusialago and my Reclaya for Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal. Now, I use the effect of my Beatrice, detaching my Mu Rusialago in order to add.
I like my hand. I don't think I need to draw with Chessy Cat.
That's 10.
Oh.
Especially since I have the foresight of knowing my enemies playing Drytron.
Revealing the Mu Rusialago. For the Queen Azamina, the Mu Rusialago returns. And for another monster you might know. By using my Beatrice and Queen Azamina, I link summon the Link 2 Moon
Wait, I
of the
forgot.
Closed Heaven.
I forgot to activate
And I am
White
sure
Binder's
that
effect.
you are aware where this goes, aren't you,
Yeah, I'm
Joseph?
familiar with this one.
We use
Whatever.
Moon of the Closed Heaven for the Fiend Smith's Requiem. We use Requiem's effect, attributing itself for the other Fiend Smith Engraver in my deck. I create with my Mu Rusialago and Reclaya a second Beatrice.
Oh, no. This is not limited, nor is it once per turn. Awesome.
I use her effect. Well, it is once per turn, but it's a soft once per turn. I detach the Murcielago in order to send to the Synchro Fusionist. I use my Engraver and Beatrice for Fiendsmith Sequence.
Okay.
Now, my Snake Eyes Flabbers Dragon finally activates its effect. I activate my Fiendsmith Sequence to Fusion Summon by recycling my Cross Sheep, Clea, and Beatrice.
What?
I can special summon Gorgeous, the triphasic Dealman.
Who is this?
You'll find out who he is soon enough, my friend. I use my Sequence and Flamber's Dragon to link summon Cross Sheep once again. I activate the LZ of the White Forest in my hand, pitching the Exod Fires of Rage. Special summoning her to my Cross Sheep zone, adding my Rusia of the White Forest. And now, my Cross Sheep triggers. Because it points to a fusion monster, I can special summon the Synchro Fusionist.
Uh-huh.
I special summon my Rusia and LZ for my Reclea.
It's the third time we've seen Reclea.
Indeed. But she won't be staying for long, as I synchro summon into Diabelle's, the Queen of the White Forest.
Uh-huh.
I activate her effect, targeting my That's 10
Sure.
and Synchro Fusionist. Synchro Fusionist will add Ultra Polymerization.
What the fuck, man?
Ugh, I worry that I may run out of time. If you would be so kind, could you perhaps pass the turn so I could gain more time to complete my sequence?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
fear I may not be able to do it in just one turn. I activate my That's 10 first up. Now, I finally activate my Ultra Polymerization using my Reclea and my Estella for the Supreme Arcanite Magician.
Dog, what is this card?
You shall see soon enough. That's 10 gains another access counter. And then it gains yet another access counter.
Yeah.
I activate the effect of my Supreme Arcanite Magician, removing one spell counter from itself to destroy the Murcielago from before. Triggers That's 10, but it also triggers the destruction effect of my Murcielago. Murcielago, you see, is going to add me. Yes, it adds Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. A special card for later. And That's 10 gains another counter. I activate the effect of my Fiendsmith's Requiem in the graveyard to equip it to my Fiendsmith Engraver.
Okay.
That's 10 gains yet another access counter. And
That
guess
is
what?
10.
That's 10!
Literally 10.
It returns to my hand, and I shall set... That's a shame. Yes, I set the Swamp Mirror, for the Apophysis Swamp Deity is trapped within my hand.
I see.
I activate That's 10 once again, for none of its effects are once per turn, my friend. I must admit to you, Joseph, this is a branch of our combo that I've yet to discover.
Yeah.
I activate the Gorgeous, paying 2,000 life points to add one spell trap from my graveyard to my hand.
Okay.
Adding the Deception of the Sinful Spoils once again. I use my 2 level 6 monsters for this song and dance again.
Uh-huh.
For my third Beatrice, we will send the Duality.
Yeah?
I activate my Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. By using my Gorgeous and Diabelle, I can fusion summon the Saint Azamina.
Oh, all right. Okay.
I hate to ask you for a second turn, but I believe that I can do this. So now my Diabelle adds back the Duality from before.
Okay, we are getting somewhere on duality.
That's 10.
Oh my god, we hit that's 10 again. Jesus.
Another Swamp Mirror. I activate Duality. Can you take a guess as to what dark level 10 spellcaster fusion monster I may have in my extra deck? Perhaps one in your deck as well.
There's no way you're allowed to cheat this guy out. What?
I sure am, my friend.
Oh.
For it is not a must. My friend, I hate to ask you of this, but I require another turn.
Of course!
I am dreadfully
Of
sorry.
course!
I am dreadfully sorry, but I simply did not mean to waste as much time as most others. Ah, yes, the McDonald's promotional card. How unfortunate that I must make Desiree this way, as I was going to use the graveyard effect on my Fiendsmith's tracks. However, my Fiendsmith sequence shall surely get the job done. I believe I may have put the wrong material? Nah. No, it should be fine. That's 9. If I may admit to you, Joseph, my initial starter was supposed to be Sylvia of the White Forest. However, I unfortunately did not open her as I wished. Now, Joseph, you may finally
really
have a turn. I apologize for taking up so much of your time. Well, I doubt that your Shield of the Millennium Dynasty, or your Sengenjin, or even your Wedgie Temple can do anything.
Okay, first up we have to go Metal Furnace.
Yes.
The only guy we...
Yes, quite unfortunate. However, it's not quite like I require it. Ah, yes, you summon your own. I remember now.
How the hell? I don't think we have an out for Saint Azamina.
I don't believe you have enough for anything on my board, Joseph boy. Of course, the standard Millennium play. Although, unfortunately, I can't let you use your shields. Ah, opening yet another piece in your hand, haven't you?
Well, I had 3 turns.
However, that, my friend, is 10. And unfortunately for you, you're finished.
Don't you have to be able to activate that?
We may not have a zone yet, but I will find a way.
I have to do this.
Do you forget the effect of my Saint Azamina, dear friend?
Quite the opposite. I just have to get it off the field.
Activate in another swamp mirror.
Yeah, you got it. I'm
Spell-
cooked.
Not.
Holy moly. Well, thank you for hopping in, Mr. Pegasus.
Of course, dear friends.
Chubether says, what can one white woman in a cost do? Summon a different white woman and also weird friends along with it. You can make Rescue Ace, Tear Lament, and Ursartic alongside the Witchcrafters and the spell books. This was a tight-ass deck. Thinker says, Exodia Towers. Thanks to the new Equip Power Tool, gets you into the Millennium stuff real easily. We'll end on 2 to 3 towers plus a 0 Boros that tags out before Ankh. But of course, you took too many life points in the process. Amateur says, it is time. I will summon Legzodia. I mean, it did what it said on the tin.
Well, we
Then
tried,
Velcro
but
says, welcome to the Weather Channel. This deck searches the weather
that was
forecast before making
that
a
was an
5-day prediction
unwinnable
of
hand,
clouds, thunder,
even though
rain,
that was
snow,
technically
and
just the
finally,
average
blue
balanced hand.
skies. Finally, this.
To be fair, we got Droll and
A
Lock.
little late, still working on it. Behold the next impression. I'm going to show off everything the new pack has to offer, including Painful Choice, which is craftable now. That is without question the longest duel I have ever played in duel-tating history. Holy shit. Fun fact, I had second slash guiding me the whole time. You motherfuckers, it's always the same people. But if you think you can do better, show up next week at twitter.com/mbtyu. Bye.
I fell asleep while watching this.
So, Simo, I don't know what a Final Fantasy is. What?
Do you not?
It's a game, right?
You uncultured.
Why
slut.
must
Everyone in
life
the
be
comments
so
is already
cruel?
downvoting because you don't know what you know Magic the Gathering and not Final Fantasy. What is wrong with you? I'm just kidding.
See, no. I don't think you're wrong. I do feel like I played one.
It's okay, it's okay. I think we can do this.
Final Fantasy was because I feel like I played something like a Final Fantasy for like a Nintendo, like an 8-bit system. You know what I mean? And they like wanded at each other.
So that is true. Yes, the originals were on Nintendo, and it's very complicated because the numbering is different depending on if you're in Japan or if you're. It's 6 is 3.
Forced them to grab the consecrated light.
But yes, the originals were on Nintendo, so you have that part correct.
I have the right person here then. So, Magic the Gathering
Get
has
2 bonds.
announced some cards from their Final Fantasy set. This is coming out this summer, I believe. We are definitely...
You might be converting me. You might be converting
We're
me.
trying. Final Fantasy MTG. Like, when does this come out? I wonder. Yes, we are at the point where I just have to Google things on air because I can't actually think of these things in my head. June 13th. So June 13th is the Final Fantasy set for Magic the Gathering. And it will be a complete set. So Magic has been really weird about releases the last few years. There's a lot of different style of releases, especially for this, which they call Universes Beyond, sets that use IP outside of Magic. And they've had like secret layers where it's just a couple of cards. They've had secret layer decks where it's just individual decks. They've had like just boosters, which like Assassin's Creed had no decks, but just boosters.
Vanities, bitch.
This is the whole treatment. A booster pack set.
Vanities pack.
Like probably 300 plus cards of Final Fantasy in Magic the Gathering, in card games. Has Final Fantasy had a card game? Like, it feels like everything's had a card game.
They have a card game, which is what makes... I was going to say that before we got into it. I like how they're doing this crossover when they already have a card game. Now, I don't know if that card game is doing well or if it still exists, but, you know, why not?
Oh, right,
Why
I forgot about
not?
the
No,
Lancia. I was supposed to wait for Lancia to trigger.
Being like, why would they do such a thing? This is why YouTubers work together, right? Like,
Exactly. Collaboration. People
it's
love
a collab.
collaborations.
If somebody likes my content, they might like your content. It's a little different, but it's still very much card gaming. So you know that can work.
Magic just slid into Square Enix's DMs and was like, hey, wanna collab? Here we are.
Like I have this opinion. If you own an IP and you have a card game that's doing okay, wouldn't it be good to get game pieces in the hands of the most popular card game? I don't know. It seems crazy to me. But
How do you feel about that in general, right? Because I think, and I know I'm stealing your video already, but how do you feel about the Universes Beyond generally? Because I think a lot of people might argue, you're kind of, you have all this lore and world building with Magic as is, but now you're introducing stuff from another IP. Are you a fan of that? Because I can see a lot of people not liking that because it sort of ruins
I just realized
the native
a downside of using effect veilers
well,
as
as I
a
go into answer that question, the first thing I want to do is set people up for this.
A situation like Vanity's Ruler.
If you're used to the guessing game, this is more of a talk about new cards. We're going to go over some of the Final Fantasy cards because I don't know anything about them. So I called the person who sent me a very excited Discord message when you saw that these were released.
And for the record, I'm not like this gigantic Final Fantasy nerd, so I know some things, but I'm not like I can tell you every single thing about the lore. Let the comments do that.
The comments will fill it in, but this is a yappable. This is a podcast. We're just gonna talk about these Final Fantasy cards. So yeah, let's start off with talking about Universes Beyond. In general, it's very controversial. Among Magic players, you will find a lot of them that completely reject Universes Beyond, don't want it to be in the game, don't like it at all. But the thing with Universes Beyond is, I would probably say there's like a 10 to 20% of those people who say they don't like Universes Beyond are hard stance, no Universes Beyond. What they're actually saying, I think what 80% of them turn out to be saying is, no, I don't like that Universes Beyond. But when it's the one they want, Oh, they're pog facing. They're throwing their money into the incinerator for it.
Sure. But it's funny, like me messaging you shows that it works, right?
Dude.
Because I'm not really in Magic, like, whatsoever. But I saw that and I'm like, cool, like, that looks like a lot of fun. And does that mean I'm going to go dive in head first and just become a Magic channel now? Probably not, but I mean, it gets me excited. So clearly they're reaching their target audience.
Yeah, it does work. It gets people who are passingly aware of Magic or Magic curious, interested somehow in Magic, to dive more in. Like, you're not the only person who's done this. Like, since I have actually started getting to know people outside the Magic space, getting the random DM that isn't like, hey, we collabing next week. It's more of the, like, how you doing? Like, Raren sends me the, are these Fallout decks real? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh my God, how do I get some? And, you know, that kind of thing. So, like, this has become like my communication with people outside of the world of Magic. And that's how you know it's working. And I think that anybody frustrated with the amount of universes beyond happening in Magic has a very legitimate point, because this is going to be the first year that it's half of the sets released are outside IP. Half. And on top of that, they're standard legal. Final Fantasy will be the first standard legal Universes Beyond set.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. There is a Magic the Gathering Pro Tour Final Fantasy.
This was the lamest game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I've ever played.
Hearing it's called that is bizarre and weird, because if you have followed the Pro Tour at all over Magic's long history, it's like these iconic Pro Tours. Pro Tour Dark Ascension, you know, Pro Tour Return to Ravnica. Like, it always highlighted the set. And then you look and you're like, Pro Tour Final Fantasy.
That's kind of rock, though. If they have, like, the music and graphics and stuff going on, like, I don't know. They could put on a pretty cool production with that, all things considered.
I hope they do. I hope to hell that they do. I hope it's an amazing production. I can't wait. Wait, that'll be in Vegas.
Oh, is it during Magic Fest?
Dude, you want to come over? Yeah, it is. You want to come hang?
Do you want to come over? I'm already here.
You're here. Can I just get you across the street, you know, to whatever convention center?
I was going to say, maybe I have to stop by.
Oh, let's make some calls. I think you can come join us for some Final Fantasy fun. That could be that could be awesome. But
that could be fun.
Yeah, we'll see. In the meantime, they've dropped some cards. So I haven't really read these cards, and I know almost nothing about who these characters are. So
excellent.
That's right. This is top tier yapping podcast. This is for all of you who leave me those comments that you listen to us yap about anything. This is
putting that to the test.
Yes,
this is putting that to the test.
Yeah, hey, you've succeeded twice.
Your comment is a fraud, and I'll find you and I'll hold you to it. But how about I love new cards. If there's something I love yapping about more than old cards or cards in games I don't play, it's new cards in Magic. So let's check out some of these new cards. I got the very first one coming to you as soon as I can figure out where the heck to open my Discord. Ah, there it is. And there you are.
While you do that, I will say I envy you guys, because so Yu-Gi-Oh! The cards get released in Japan before they come anywhere else outside of Asia. So we don't really get reveal season. Our reveal season is when, like, Asia announces them, and it kind of ruins it because it's not like the same. Yeah, because we don't get the cards for like 6 months after they announce them. So, kind of lame. But
I will say it does feel like Konami doesn't like you. Like,
anyway, let's move on. Cloud X Soldier. Can I just say, flavor-wise, the fact that the Chocobo is the fucking icon for the set, amazing.
Okay.
You don't even know what I just said. You don't even know what I just said.
Slow down. Yeah, I don't, but I can see on my screen over here, we have a card coming up.
We have Cloud Stripe, fucking Stripe, let's go.
Am I reading these? How are we doing this?
Question mark.
Yeah, how about you read Cloud?
I'll read Cloud. Cloud X
Wait, why did I
by
put
the way.
different dimension ground?
See, okay, here's the problem. I can't explain too much to you because then it's.
I had different dimension
and,
ground in the previous game. That's amazing.
You should, like, play these games or like watch stuff at some point.
Bro,
because
I'm never gonna play these games.
No, I'm just saying. like, as far as games go, remember, these are old games. This is when gaming didn't suck, okay? This is when people, like,
Okay.
put passion and time into games.
We're yelling at
So I'm just
clouds.
saying-
Let's go.
Anyway.
No. I mean, if you're saying it's a spoiler that the soldier is an ex-soldier, I think the card is fine. It's fine.
I guess. All right, anyway, so Cloud X.
Is it really that much of a spoiler?
A red and a green and a
It
white.
shows
So
up
5 all
at
in
like hour.
for a legendary human soldier mercenary. It has haste, which is very fitting.
It shows up at like the
Cloud
4th
enters,
hour of
attach
your
up to
gameplay
one
in a
target equipment
fucking
you control to it.
60-hour long ass game.
Draw a card for each equipped attacking creature you control. Then if Cloud has power 7 or greater, create 2 treasure tokens. If I had to guess, the Buster Sword, which is the sword he is wielding in the photo here, his trademark iconic sword, probably like top 5 most iconic video game weapons of all time, will probably give him at least 3 power, if I had to guess.
You think
but
so? Okay.
I just a guess. But
Buster.
it would make sense
a
because
Buster
it's
sword? Like a ghost
Buster
buster?
sword.
Like that kind
not,
of...
not like a ghost, but just stop.
It's
Not to
just
mention,
Buster because
since it's
Buster
Final
sounds
Fantasy
cool.
7, get it? His power has to be 7 or greater. That's where he's from. It's all coming
I would
together,
have
baby.
never even. Okay.
It's all coming together,
Good
baby.
to know.
It's all coming
Flavor.
together.
Got it. Yes. Okay.
All right, so is this card good?
That's a great question. This is so. For the first time, we are looking at this for Commander. Like, see how it says FIC down on the bottom left? I think that
Oh, I
means
do see that.
these cards will be Commander legal. I don't know that they'll be Standard legal.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're going to have multiple set symbols because, bear with me, this has become so bizarrely complicated, but they usually release a set for Standard, and it's got like 277-ish cards, give or take some small number, that become Standard legal, that are the core of the set and what you open in booster packs. But they also release Commander decks, and in these Commander decks, to make them more suitable power level for Commander, which is an Eternal format, and to make them more exciting, they usually have Commanders and about 8 to 20 cards between all the decks that are only legal in Commander. And you can
so
tell...
the set symbols differentiate them? Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll learn that the set symbol...
Man,
I'm
that's so
guessing this is
cool.
the
Why
Commander
doesn't...
set symbol,
Why
whatever this
can't
bird thing is that
Yu-Gi-Oh
I'll
have
explain
nice
later.
things?
Chocobo.
Yeah, okay. And the FIC, I think that stands for, like, Final Fantasy Commander. So I think there's going to be, we're going to see, I can see one over here. We're going to have a different set symbol and a different code, FIN, for the Standard legal cards. So we are evaluating this one for Commander, is the long way of saying this is a Commander evaluation only for this card. Is this card good? Equipment Commanders are very popular. Equipment is generally, and there are exceptions across Magic history, it's generally not good in Standard because you usually have to pay a cost and attach the equipment to a creature, and then the removal spell happens and you wasted your mana and your equipment's not doing what you paid for. All right.
It's free, and then everything else still happens anyway.
That's right. And in Commander, it kind of fixed all of that, right? And in Commander, also, the reason equipment are better, even the equipment that aren't great in Standard are good in Commander, because you always have a commander. You always have a creature ready to come back and carry the sword, you know? So it's a much more palatable thing in Commander when you always have a commander to attach it to. So immediately, like, you look at, like, equipment commanders, and you're looking at Naya. So this is red, green, and white.
Wait,
That's
I didn't
the
mean
color
to.
identity of this commander. And this will also be a face of a precon. So there's a whole deck that's going to be built around this effect. So you have to think there are going to be lots of cool equipments, and everybody loves cool mythical weapons. So that's going to be very good. Is this better than other commanders? I think the attach for free is really good. But it's only on enter. That's important. That's important because if it were at the beginning of each combat attach, it would be a lot better. And there are some cards that exist in these colors that already do that.
Yeah, I was hoping I would draw it into a Malice name, and then I could still get out
from your hand or from the
Firewall Dragon.
So I mean, at least
This is my fucking problem, man. I love gambling a little too much.
Like, you're looking at the play pattern for this, you also want to have the equipment already on the field. That's a little tricky. That's a little tricky because they see it coming for usually at least a turn.
Now I'm gonna lose because I accidentally already banished Heart Scripter.
And then when you play it, it's probably just sitting there doing nothing that turn. So that's not great. It also drives you in a specific equipment direction because of the 7 or greater power.
Although honestly, I think we're still gonna win with this hand.
And I don't know if they've ever done this, so obviously feel free to laugh at me if this sounds stupid. But because it's, you know, this type of set and it's based around this game and everything, it wouldn't shock me if it says, if the Buster Sword card, which I don't think we have at this point, but if we do, feel free to, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. I would be surprised if the Buster Sword card is like, if you control clouds, this costs 0 or something like that.
That would be
because then it's like, you know, it incentivizes you to.
What happens if I artifact Lancia here?
Deck, right? Because now it's a free equipment that you get to play. And granted, you'd still need the equipment, but at least you don't have to pay for the equipment as well. And then you always are going to have the combo together, depending on how good it is. But I don't know. That'd be a Yu-Gi-Oh thing that they would do. So it'd be cool to see if them do it here as well. Because Commander, everything's OP. Who cares?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because I would say this is a pretty medium power level until then. The drawing a card when this has to attack, and then you draw the card for each equipped creature you control. So you want more creatures that are equipped. Each attacking creature you control, equipped attacking creature you control. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of little guardrails. I like that you get the 2 treasure tokens so you have more mana in theory. But man, it's a tough one. Like, I think the equipment dog from Fallout, or an equipment dog that was probably a bit more versatile. Who is this person?
It's the main protagonist. He's the main protagonist.
Malice can't do anything because they Lancia themselves. So let's just use this as an opportunity to experiment, I suppose. Because we've got a very strange set of hands.
He's just like a guy, you know. But he's just people just like his personality. They just like his whole aesthetic, and then just the story in Final Fantasy VII. It all sort of revolves around him. It's
what the hell?
Like I said, I don't want to spoil too much because it's like genuinely.
Oh well, it's only monsters being affected by different dimension grounds, so.
Made on polygon graphics back on the original PlayStation.
Yeah, okay, Lancia went to the banish.
So, like I said, like if there's anything, you should try that because I don't want to ruin it because it is just like genuinely a very good story.
Okay. Then what I'm going to bring out next is another cloud. So in Lord of the Rings, people who followed Lord of the Rings and a few other sets of Universes Beyond, mostly Lord of the Rings, they had like not a Gandalf, but like 4 different Gandalfs in the set to chronicle the many, the many different things that Gandalf did. Like there was Gandalf the White.
Okay, so Lancia just cancels.
Gandalf, but there was a red-blue Gandalf.
So when different dimension ground and Lancia go into effect, it's based on which is triggered last.
Final Fantasy, they made multiple
I didn't chain link either of them, but it would have worked. It would have worked both ways. If I Lancia'd first, and then different dimension grounded last, then different dimension would cancel out Lancia. I see.
Cloud Planet's Champion. So this one's even in different colors. Well, not completely. It just doesn't have the green. But it's 3 a red and a white for another human soldier mercenary legendary. During your turn, as long as Cloud is equipped, it has double strike and indestructible. And equipped abilities you activate that target Cloud cost 2 less to activate. Okay, so and it's a 4/4. That is kind of what I was saying with the Buster Sword, but this sort of circumvents it and puts it on, Cloud instead of the sword. So that's fine. The logo is FF, which is Final Fantasy, obviously.
Unfortunately, I kind of win
crystals are just
now.
Like synonymous with Final Fantasy at this point. There's always crystals for everything, like crystals for save points, crystals.
Magicite.
They love crystals in Final Fantasy. They're very
good to
they're
know.
very prolific. Yes,
crystals are hype. All right. What do we think of this Cloud? Is Cloud at a different stage of the journey, or is this from the same game? Like, how does this come together? How does this work?
It's funny because people are gonna laugh. This almost looks like Advent Children, which is like a movie that was like not canon, but it was still like a cool movie from like way back in the day. I don't know why. It's like the coloring of it. It just reminds me of that for some reason. But yeah, this is probably like, you know, later stage Cloud, if I had to guess.
Okay. Okay.
What do we feel about the effect?
It's gonna be standard legal because of the set symbol, but there are also fun clues that you have to use to piece together. And this might be written on a website somewhere, and people will just yell at me in the comments. But like, as a magical mind, I have clues. So the first clue is this is a mythic, but it's card number 552, which is way too huge. That's way too high on the mythic number. And what that means is this is probably in a beginner product, because they like to create these little beginner decks to try to get people into Magic. And this would be like the face of probably a beginner deck, because and then they put those numbers on them and slap them at the very end of the card file.
Do I wait for the opponent's turn to Zeus?
When something is
I think that's pretty stupid.
Face piece of the
Let's Zeus right now while they're incapacitated by their stupidity.
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah.
And by there, I mean my stupidity.
So I think that's immediately a clue that this is a beginner product card, because in Standard, there's no way. In Standard, there's no way you have like 2 or 3 equipment on the battlefield and you play this and then you equip them all to this and it's amazing and nobody can beat it. Like, Standard,
everyone clip that for when he's wrong.
5 mana, man, is insane. It's insane. It would take some of the wildest equipment that could possibly exist. And it's not like Standard doesn't have equipment. It's just that Standard is brutal right now. It's fast. Like, you play a 5 mana card in Standard, it better win you the game, and the fact that this also needs equipment to be on the battlefield to pay off is like, no way. But it's pretty cool in Standard. Or, I mean, not in Standard. In Commander, like, this can be a Cloud in your Cloud deck. Actually,
I definitely like the other Cloud better, I will say.
I really wish, it says equip abilities you activate that target Cloud costs 2 less. I wish it could be any
I wish that was on the
Cloud.
Commander.
I wish it could be any Cloud, because what it means is just this Cloud, even though they're both Cloud, which is kind of wild. That's a little silly. That's a little silly.
Interesting.
But all right, so that's our mega protagonist Cloud film. In fact, let's get this out of the way, because now I'm just curious, since you talked about the bird. No, we're gonna talk about the bird. I want to know what the bird is. Like, why is the bird a big deal here?
Where's the Chocobo card?
Read this.
Saz's Chocobo. Okay, so it's not only, I thought we were only in certain Final Fantasy realms, but it seems like we're moving into 13 with this one. Okay. So, for those watching, this is Saz's Chocobo. This is 1 green mana for a bird creature, a 0/1 with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on.
Well, Zeus isn't doing anything anymore, isn't he?
So the Chocobos, they're basically chickens, for all intents and purposes. They're just very cute chickens. You're seeing here like a baby Chocobo. Saz is a supporting, he's like one of the main 6 characters in Final Fantasy 13. He's not as important as some of the other protagonists, but he's fun. Like, he's a cool guy. And this is his little Chocobo that he has. He has an afro, and the Chocobo like goes in his afro sometimes. It's very adorable.
What? Just lives in the hair?
Yeah, I don't know if it lives in the hair, but sometimes it just goes in there. It's very funny. But anyway, so these are like the chickens, but the chickens are also equivalent to like horses. So they'll like ride chocobos around, and sometimes the military will also like militarize the chocobos. So they have like chocobo armor and stuff as well, and they make them like, you know, war chocobos, which is really cool. So yeah, that's all this is. It's like one of your I imagine Magic has, you know, plenty of unique characters to the world that get plenty of cards printed over and over again. This is like one of the Final Fantasy versions of that.
Like planeswalkers, this is like a bird.
You don't have like any like little cute guys that like always are recurring in different, because like Yu-Gi-Oh has Karibo, right? It's just a little fluff ball with eyes, and we have a million different like Karibo cards. You know, nothing like that?
It's making sense why people are getting really into loot, and they're putting loot in every set now. And I think somebody had this talk, this intervention with Wizards about needing some cute little thing in everything that shows up.
That's funny.
I'm like amazed. Like, so this is the set symbol for the Commander set. I'm like, this is a big deal? Like, holy cow. It's little birds that you ride, like horses, that get weaponized.
They're pretty good because you move relatively slow in Final Fantasy games, like walking speed, and so the chocobos, they're like really fast, so they let you get around places a lot faster than you otherwise would be able to. They don't really fly though.
They're also
like, similar
fast
to
travel.
chickens.
They're jetpacks.
Yeah, that was a
Chicken
game we
fast
had no
travel, it's,
reason
like,
of
in
winning.
between fast travel
This is
and
a game we
regular
have no
walking,
reason of winning.
if that makes sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
The card is.
They're very cool. They're very cool. How's the card?
The card is interesting. That is a really low cost for a creature that grows with landfall. And in eternal formats, like Commander, where you can play fetch lands, you can basically get this to trigger twice every turn after you play it, sometimes more if you have other ways to like explore playing 2 fetch lands. This could get +4/+4 in a turn. Like, that's pretty crazy. That's, like, Magic players know about
Although,
this.
honestly, we
Tarmogoyf,
might
it's
still
a
have a game
Tarmogoyf
here.
Almost. In Standard, there aren't a lot of fetch lands. Yeah, I think so. Basically, Tarmogoyf is Magic slang for a like very cheap, big body. It's cheap cost, big stats. This can be cheap cost, big stats if you curve out. And there aren't that many fetched lands in Standard. There's one called Fable Passage that you don't usually want to play till turn 4. That would be the only way to consistently get like double triggers off this without getting a tap number. Still, I don't know, man. This feels pretty put for this rate. If there's been another 1 mana, if there has been another card that is 1 mana, landfall, get a +1/+1 counter, I don't think there has been. Because, like, you play this on turn 1. On turn 2, it's a 1/2. And, I mean, that's 1 mana for that is not great. But every turn after that, it keeps growing. I don't know. Standard seems a little too... Standard might be too fast for that. Dude, modern, like older formats where you play this and then you play a fetch land and a fetch land and a fetch land, and it's a 6/7 on turn 3 or something. Maybe. It's cute. It's cute. Do you think there'll be like Kokobo Stampede or something like that?
Maybe. There's also like rare chocobos too, because people like similar to horses, they in the world of Final Fantasy, like they race them, they like breed them. So there's different colors. Like generally they're yellow, but sometimes there's like rare albino ones that are like white or black or different things too. So.
I thought of a good way to share the load when I move to another card. You can read it for the audience, and I can put it over here.
Did I
on
cite?
the little
I think I cited out only a single. So fuck. But I think we can still win this.
Down by the set symbol as well.
Oh, it
So
does?
if you don't know which game, yeah, it says right next to where it says O200. In the bottom left, it says FFXIII. So that's Final Fantasy 13.
Oh, cool. That means so much to me. How many are there?
They just released 16 last
Yeah, there
year,
are
but there's
16 now. I was gonna say
16 'cause they
15.
branched
Wow.
off, done, like, different,
Jesus.
like, sequels to some of them, and it's very complicated.
Wait, what do
so
you
there's
think
a
the
lot.
code is for like the movies or the other weird stuff? Do they have like?
I don't know if they're even gonna do. I don't know. I mean, like.
Yeah, naked the true lies. Only if you realize spirit in the body's life. Still the sterilized. Stop the guerrilla warfare to keep it fair, bro. Change your ways to smart away the cost. You know the stakes is hot. Stop, dumb, and sleep out. You know the chicken by the time. You know the justify. Do not waste your time. You hasty fucking guys. You mind the AI. Tell justice to them. Now I face out. I hold out. I reach out to the truth of my life, seeking to seize all the whole moment and not to break away. Oh God, let me out. Can you let me out? Can you set me free from this dark in the world stage? When I last peace in the soul.
Ishtola Knights Blessed. A one and a white and a blue and a black for 4 total for a legendary creature Cat Warlock. Vigilance at the beginning of each end step. If a player lost 4 or more life this turn,
Let's try this
you draw a
again.
card. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater,
So, whoops,
Ishtola
I
deals 2
was supposed
damage
to
each
lose the die
opponent
roll
and
there.
you gain 2 life, and it is a 2/4.
Yeah. So this is
Cool card.
It's another face commander. So this is going to be a commander deck leader. Esper colors, white, blue, and black, which are very good colors for yours truly. I don't know what's going on with a cat warlock, but there are some people out there who are excited. There are a lot of cat synergies, or even some warlock synergies in like outlaws with what do they call them, like mercenaries or outlaw is like an extra type that covers like
Cloud is a mercenary for contact.
Oh really? Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, so like
well, I don't think he's actually a mercenary, but like in the game.
They're criminals in the magic sense in one of our
Not criminals, they were rebels.
So,
They were
card,
trying to fight against
on first read, and I'm
society.
sure playing the pre-con, you look at this card, and you're like, well, you have to play a bunch of expensive stuff to get a little payoff, right? And you have to make them lose a little bit of life, and you can draw a card. I want you to unlock your Yu-Gi-Oh! Brand.
I was starting to a bit.
Because once once you get outside of, like, this won't be what the pre-con is, okay? The pre-con, the deck is gonna probably have a bunch of big effects that make the card life draw thing go well, because they can't print that broken of cards. But in the Eternal format, that is Magic. And you think of Force of Will, the counter spell that you can play for free by discarding a card from your hand, right? That also would then drain everybody for 2 damage and 2 life. And then you think of other cards, like here's Guardianship is a card you can play for free. Maybe I'll show it to you someday. So, like, there's actually a lot of free spells or, like, really reduced costs that you can play with this to trigger it again and again. And it draws you cards.
It draws you cards. We like that. This also could just win the game if you have like a granted there's like probably a million ways to infinite like mana, but like if you just have that ability, you just drain everyone because your commander has that built in. Like that seems pretty good.
Yes, at the beginning, if you cast a mana value 3 or greater. So yeah, you do an infinite mana loop, and then with a Hullbreaker Horror or Tidespout Tyrant, these are big kaiju monsters that let you pick up anything and play it again. Yeah, you can just drain the table. It's already really popular in EDH.
Okay.
So it is a win con in your command zone with infinite mana in that sense. Also, if you have a no, it has to be enough. Okay. What I love is at the beginning of each end step, it checks to see if a player lost 4 or more life that turn, and then you draw. Because if your opponent is attacking your other opponent, it hits them for 4 or more.
That counts.
That counts. Also, if they pay like 4 life to activate some ability, life is a resource in Magic, then that would also count. So on every end step, you're looking around like, did somebody lose 4 or more life? Anybody? Anybody? It could be you. You can pay 4 life.
Yeah. It seems pretty good. I mean, I like this more than Cloud, to be honest. And, you know, that's probably sacrilege to say because it's, you know, Cloud. But I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more going on here.
Yeah,
I haven't banished Chassis Cat yet. Wow.
I think this is a really good card. I think this is a very powerful commander.
Let's go at one more material on field.
Rumble with it because Cloud, like, you have to, unless you're right about getting it for free somehow, you have to pay for the equipment, right? You're not really paying here unless you're casting those non-creature spells, and there's ways. Ooh, I like her. I like her a lot. Too bad we don't have the lore. But I still have the lore.
There's a lot of people that play F-14. I'm sure they can get the lore.
I bet she's a banger in that game too. I bet it's a very, very, very popular character. If you play it, that character, or find that character, I don't know. I've never MMO'd. I don't know what's happening in an MMO. Do you know this character?
Yes, Titus, Yuna's Guardian. So this is a green and a white and a blue. So the cheapest of all the commanders we've seen thus far for a legendary creature human warrior. 3/3, by the way.
I guess the reason they have such ridiculous costs is because you're expected to just have them be a commander. That makes enough sense.
And it has the sheer keyword, or ability word, I don't know what that is. Whenever one or more creatures you control with counters on them deal combat damage to a player, you may draw a card and proliferate. Do this only once each turn.
That's weird. Once each turn on top of the whenever one or more. I guess that means if you are hitting 3 opponents, you still only get 1 trigger. That's
interesting. Is that how it would work?
Yeah, I think so. This is another commander card, another face commander. Yes, I believe that the way that you would try to do this in the past, if you had a commander like this, is you would try to send one creature with a counter on it to each opponent to get 3 triggers. And since it says do this once each turn, that's just not going to happen. That is a weird
once
limiter.
each turn? What is this, Yu-Gi-Oh? Boo.
That is a weird limiter for Commander, though. Commander usually, like, really rewards you for being able to punch 3 players at once, since it's kind of hard to do in the board, in, like, the big, crazy board states that happen and the, like, resources of Commander. Normally, you're really incentivized to do that. They're basically saying don't do that. Sure. Who is this?
So Titus is the protagonist of Final Fantasy X, arguably also up there with some of the best games ever made of all time. I think most people would probably put 7 over 10 if you're ranking them, but 10 is also a masterpiece in its own right. So Titus looks very similar to Cloud in some ways. Cloud is very like reserved, like kind of emo. You know, he's kind of like the cool guy in school, which is why so many people like him. Titus is very happy-go-lucky. He's like the guy who always wants to do the right thing. He's very selfless. So
Cloud is a Sasuke, and this is a Naruto?
That's a good analog, yes.
I
would say
that
that's a very good comparison. There you go. You're still with it, CGB. You're still with it. But yeah, so Final Fantasy X is just basically one gigantic love story, and Titus and then Yuna also as well. They're like the 2 stars of the show. And I said it was complicated before with like numbering the Final Fantasies. Final Fantasy X had a sequel. It had X2 because instead of it being X, it was X2. So that's why I said that was complicated before. But yes, a lot of people like Titus too, just because he's like I said, he's just very chipper, happy-go-lucky sort of like just like cool guy that had a lot of unfortunate things happen to him. But yes, very great game.
Are you more of a Sasuke or a Naruto? Are you more of a Titus or a Cloud?
Like actual personality or which I prefer?
Either or.
Ooh, good question.
This is yapping. People want to know.
I feel like generally I'm more like the Titus Naruto type, and I feel like a lot of people would probably agree with that. Maybe like internally I'm more like a Cloud Sasuke type, but yeah, I don't know.
Oh, Splash Mage is the reason I'm getting locked out of Bestials. I see.
Dudes and the big swords. Is that just everything is sword fighting?
It's your fantastical, like typical anime fantasy ridiculous weapon arc. That's just like a signature of the series, is that they always have these like ridiculously cool weapons that people love to cosplay with.
So for the card, it says at the beginning of combat, only on your turn, so not even each turn's combat, you may move a counter from a creature onto a second target creature. This is really popular in Commander, not necessarily.
So that's not a unique effect.
It's not a unique effect, but I think on a Commander it is. It's probably not even unique on a Commander, but at this cost, I think it's a pretty unique effect. So it's going to appeal right away, because there are a lot of cards in Commander, and what a lot of Commander players love to do is move counters around, but in such a way that it benefits them. So there are a large number of cards that like get an
It says you need to special summon it in defense position for Splash Mage, so does that mean I'm not gonna be able to summon Link monsters with Splash Mage?
There are cards like Hardened Scales type effects, they're called Scales effects shorthand, that say whenever you put a counter on something, put that many +1 counter, or put double that counter. So just moving it is putting a counter, so it's going to add more counters than it's basically counter alchemy, right? If you have this cheap enchantment called Hardened Scales on your field, and you move a +1/+1 counter from Titus to something else, that creature now has 2 counters. You turn 1 counter.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you punch people, you draw a card and proliferate. Have I shown you proliferate before?
I don't think so. If you have, I don't recall.
Proliferate is an eternal mechanic that looks at the entire board. Every single permanent on the board, and it looks at each player. And this comes up for a few different kinds of counters. And it sees if any players have a counter attributed to them. There are a few, there's poison counters, which if you get 10 of them, you lose the game. There are experience counters. Yeah. There's experience counters, which do things with certain commanders.
I was never gonna be able to keep
Kind of a
Firewall
commander
Dragon
mechanic.
alongside
But
the
players
other
can have
Firewall
counters,
Dragon.
And all permanents. All permanents can also have counters of various types. Some
Very
are helpful,
sad.
some are harmful. When you proliferate, each time you proliferate, you look at all of this, all the counters that are like in the game state, and you can choose to increase them by 1.
You can choose. Okay, so it's optional.
Exactly.
Because I was going to say, so that means you would increase them by your opponents as well, and that would be awful.
It
I would
could
imagine,
be.
but
It could be.
yeah. Or
So-
it could be good because you said some have negative effects.
Yeah,
sure.
so there are +1/+1 counters that, of course, you want to increase on your creatures, and you would not increase on your
-1,
opponents.
-1.
Exactly. So
Gotcha.
a lot of like decks that use the proliferate mechanic are going to put -1/-1 counters on the opponent's thing, and then increase the number of those counters, which they hate. You
I can imagine. I
You
can
remember
imagine.
Toxrill's slime counters?
That's the giant snail.
Yeah,
right?
that gave everything -1/-1. You can proliferate those.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
just more things die. Yeah. Now, not in this color identity, because black is not a part of Titus here.
Right,
But
right.
the most popular commander in the format commander, the ability is to proliferate every turn.
Interesting.
That's
okay.
like,
Okay.
yeah, it's a really popular thing. And this card can go in that deck. So,
I played a little too hard, didn't I?
Will
so-
it though? I honestly, this kind of feels like it has like a lot of limitations on it. Like you have to be in combat. It's I don't know. It just it doesn't. It maybe it's like innocuous. Like maybe it's like sleeper good, but compared to some of the or maybe it's just efficient. You know, sometimes there are cards you show me that are really good, but they're not flashy, and maybe that's what Titus is at the end of the day.
I don't like that it doesn't. So reading this whole thing again, it can move counters, it can draw cards, it can proliferate. Yeah,
Only a count.
a counter. It doesn't in any way make counters itself.
Right.
So obviously, if you play this with no counters in circulation, particularly positive counters on your creatures, you do nothing. That's a bit of a problem. Now in Commander, if this is your commander, you can build the whole deck around it. But you're only going to put it in decks where that's kind of a given, that you have so many ways to put positive counters on your creatures. And that's not hard to do, but it's definitely a casual strategy, not a competitive strategy. Because you need people to kind of leave you alone and let you have your creatures with counters to get the payoff. So I know exactly how this deck is going to play out, and I think it will be very popular, but it won't be highly competitive on its own. This is one that takes a lot more work than you want to see in a modern commander, but I think people will enjoy it. If
It'll
that
be a fun
helps.
commander.
Yeah, and you know, you get Naruto needs Sasuke, right? You need both on the field. I guess. I don't know. Let's see. I got another. Okay, I think this is the last face commander. And again, I'm not reading the articles or any other like information that they put on the internet. I'm just grabbing cards and throwing them on a screen, and we're talking about them. So let me know all the ways that I'm wrong, because that's fun. Where did you go? Is that you?
And good for engagement, so thanks for helping.
Yes, indeed. We appreciate it. Do you know this one?
Terra, Herald of Hope. This is Final Fantasy VI. It's been a minute since I played Final Fantasy VI, so I'm gonna just say no for all intents and purposes. It's been a while. It's been a while. But this is a red, white, and a black commander, so very cheap, once again, for a 3/3, so we saw that with Titus as well. Legendary creature, human, wizard, warrior. This has Trance. At the beginning of combat on your turn, mill 2 cards. Terra gains flying until end of turn. And then whenever Terra deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2. When you do, return target creature card with power 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That's pretty cool.
Interesting. It's interesting. So we were talking about how the last commander didn't have any access to like a way to put a counter on things. This does serve itself in that way. The ability to mill yourself 2 cards is like, in theory, eventually going to get a creature that you can then punch with this thing and get back.
It's very self-serving too, right? Because it mills and gives itself flying, which means it has a way to just actually get in because it has to deal combat damage. The only thing that kind of sucks is that you have to pay the 2 to get back the thing that costs 3 or less.
It's not free.
It's not free,
It's not
you know.
free.
Sorry, Yu-Gi-Oh! Brained, it's not free. But it's sort of all like compared to Titus, where it kind of requires a lot more work to get set up. Terra just does it all by herself, and that's totally fine.
Also, the other like limiter on this one is Terra has to do the damage. Right?
Which
It's not
kinda sucks.
just any creature, which is too bad. That does typically mean, this doesn't have haste, it typically means you're waiting to do the thing.
Right.
I think, so it's also a thing that is either telegraphed or not because of when the mill happens. So like you want to play this and then go straight to combat and mill because you want as much stuff in graveyard as possible. But if you do that and you flip over something that they don't want reanimated, everybody's going to do everything they can for the next turn cycle to keep this from attacking and killing.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So it's, that said, I think the sneaky part on this card, you know, take a guess. Can you see what I think is the sneaky part on this card?
The sneaky part on the card. Enlighten me.
So it says power 3 or less, not casting cost 3 or less.
Ooh.
There
okay.
are, the first card I thought of is called Agent of Treachery. It's a 7 mana 2/3.
Okay.
When it enters the battlefield, you gain control of anything.
Oh.
Any
okay.
one thing
So
on the board.
that would work. That would work.
But that's blue. Darn it. Oh, I thought this was a blue card. It has mill and flying. That feels blue to me. Okay.
He was trying to cook.
Dang it.
He was trying
I was
to cook.
trying to cook. And it has to be your graveyard. It's not other graveyards. Like, okay. Chat is already going off. This is my first time thinking about it. I'm trying to think of, like, what are the amazing 3 or less powers that cost like 7 mana or greater? Big Timmy, like you have to be really mana cheating this. You want really expensive cards, and I'm sure there are some, but man,
They have to be red, white, or black, though.
Yes,
that's the only downside.
they
And
do.
like green, obviously, has big things, so that's out.
And blue has probably the best ones because the enters effects of blue cards that cost that much are very strong. I'm trying to think of. God, there's got to be some though.
Surely there's got to be like a black or a red card that would be really good with this. I would imagine. But the fact that you're right though, the fact that it's power 3 versus cost 3, I think really leans into like the potential upside that this card could have. But it does again have some limiters, right? Like it does have to deal combat damage. It has to be it specifically. I don't know. I mean, it's I still like this better than Titus for what it's worth.
Yeah, and you get to play with the graveyard, so you get to both fill your graveyard and use cards that like tutor things directly into your graveyard or discard cards from your hand directly into your graveyard, and then you can reanimate them. People love that. I really am drawing a blank. It shows how much I play blue that I'm immediately like, ooh, these blue cards. And then I'm like, God, I've got 3 other colors, red and black and white. And I'm like, I don't know what creatures do that. I don't know.
Funny.
I feel kind of dumb about it, to be honest. Let me know in the comments, what does this reanimate that's good? What does Terra, Herald of Hope, bring back that's really powerful? I'm sure there are some absolute game breakers that I'm just, I don't know. And I don't mean like a 4 mana card that like gives her double strike, okay? I want to like shatter people's minds with the greatness that is being cheated onto the battlefield. I want 6s and 7s and 10s. I really don't know if they exist.
Things that are going to strike fear into the other people at the table. That's what you want.
But yeah, those I think are the face commanders. So those are probably the 4 decks. I love the Cat Warlock. What Y'shtola?
I think she has the most upside for sure in terms of just like she seems
Yeah, I
the
should
most
start
useful
doing that.
in a lot of ways.
Indeed.
And maybe we're wrong. Just on the surface, that's how I feel reading it.
Oh, I'm sold. I don't need any information. I don't need any context. That's the card. That's the card for me. I can't wait to make one that just casts a bunch of expensive stuff for cheap or free and triggers the absolute hell out of that commander. That'll be very fun. I have heard, okay, if you had asked me what I knew about Final Fantasy at the start of this video, I know 2 names. Okay. Cloud is one. And
What's
then
the other?
this is the other one I've heard. So I hope you can give me context, but I don't know anything about it.
I would hope you've heard this one. This is Sephiroth, Planet's Heir. 4 and a blue and a black. We're in some colors that I like here for a 4/4 legendary creature, human avatar soldier. This has vigilance. When Sephiroth enters, creatures your opponent controls get -2/-2 until end of turn. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Sephiroth. So the reason you've heard this is because Cloud and Sephiroth are like rivals. They are the protagonist and the antagonist. It's very complicated though, because again, I don't want to get into it. The story's good.
Okay. I feel like I've seen this cosplay a lot.
Because people like Daddy Sephiroth. That's all you gotta know. People love Sephiroth. He has like a 9-foot long katana as his weapon. He's just very badass. A lot of people like him.
There will probably be a version of this card that is like a legendary creature of this that is good, that getting the ultimate poorly version of people would want. This is what I hear.
If they did not do that, I will be genuinely shocked, because similar to what you said before, this looks like the counterpart to that second Cloud card you showed. It's even funny because like the angles of the cards, like Sephiroth's facing to the right and Cloud's facing to the left. So if you put them next to each other, it sort of would like make a bigger artwork, if you will. This is like, sort of representing their final clash, if you will. It seems like here. And I mean, Sephiroth's badass.
I still lost anyway, huh?
He just seems. I mean, it's like you said. If this is going to be the starter deck product thing to get people,
You know,
into Magic,
I'm having
it would
brain
not
rot.
surprise me that it's Cloud versus Sephiroth,
Playing 2
because, like
decks
you said,
as
if
complicated
anyone
as Drytron
knows
and
Final
Melis.
Fantasy, especially like 7, they know Cloud and Sephiroth.
So this card, we in a video we just made on your channel, we just talked about Massacre Worm a little bit. And this card, people love Massacre Worm in Commander. This card has Massacre Worm text, dude. When it enters, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. Massacre Worm sometimes ended the game because Massacre Worm would come in and they'd lose 2 life for each creature that died on that spot. So it punished.
Let's just go do online before lunch.
Board. This card
One
puts a
match.
+1/+1 counter on Sephiroth, which doesn't attack the turn it enters unless you somehow give it haste, which is very sad. So, I imagine some people will build this as a commander because they think it's fun, but when you can see this coming from the command zone, you're not going to get anybody with this. What are we talking about? There's some nasty combos. There are some cards in the format that set every creature's base toughness to 1.
And then you just bring this out and just wipe them out.
Wow! I honestly think that will be a really hard commander experience to pull off. And then even when you do, nobody will like you.
Right.
So in casual, where I think this would be targeted for, it won't be effective in casual. And in standard, it's really tempting to reanimate a card like this in standard, like cheat this out on turn 4 and crush an aggro
Sure,
deck.
it's still a board wipe. I mean,
yeah, there's a better version
or like
of
on
it,
a body. Yeah.
There's a better version. Harvester of Misery is a better version. It actually discards itself to kill something, so reanimating it isn't even hard. Yeah.
That's fine.
It's definitely a beginner box product, but it looks so cool. It looks so cool. And it says, look at the flavor.
This is the reason why I get Bestial locked.
Little stories? Okay. This is the end for all of you.
We're not gonna need it. It seems this guy's playing Rogue. I feel a little bad, so...
Very, like I said, I don't want to ruin it. It's just, it's an experience. CGB, it's an experience. It's an experience.
You really don't want to give me nothing here.
I summoned the wrong guy.
Dude, I brought him on for Yap, and this is
whatever.
What I get.
I'm trying to be nice here. I get. If it turns out there's a sweaty tryhard and they just got unlucky with their hand, I'll take it.
Sleep knowing that I didn't do it.
Indeed. Oh my gosh, I keep moving my background by accident when I'm trying to resize these images. It's fine. I'm very experienced content creator. I can handle it. What is this? Do you know what this is?
Yes, so Sin is the main villain in Final Fantasy X. This is Sin Spira's Punishment. This is for a black, a green, and a blue.
I'm
So
playing
7 all
Yu-Gi-Oh.
in for a legendary creature.
I'm doing it
Leviathan
after
avatar that
lunch.
costs 7/7. It has flying, makes sense. And whenever Sin enters or attacks, exile a permanent card from your graveyard at random, then create a tapped token that's a copy of that card. If the exiled card is a land card, repeat this process.
Whoa. Weird. If this were a Yu-Gi-Oh, if this were a Yu-Gi-Oh card, if it were free, it would be a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything quite like this. That's interesting, though. So for a little bit of lore, so Sin, so I told you how Titus is like Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky, blah, blah, blah. So basically Sin, like, destroys Titus's homeland and then, like, warps him into like a completely different place, and so he has to like try to like save this place so that like it doesn't happen to, like, Sin doesn't like destroy this place as well. And so that's like kind of what gets the whole story going. Basically the first act of the story is like you experiencing Sin just like destroying everything, you know, basically. So he's this like sort of like omniscient, like Leviathan avatar is a very fitting description for Sin, I will say. That's very encompassing. But yeah, neat little villain. And obviously that's like the final boss too, so that's not really
This'll
much of a
still
spoiler.
cook him, but it is vulnerable to a few things.
It's massive. Who's Spyra?
It's huge. It's gigantic. Sphere is the town.
Okay. So it's a place has to be punished.
Very
by this
importantly,
giant
I
monster.
didn't summon Red Ransom.
Correct. Yeah. But
Memento,
I mean,
I
this is
see.
expensive, but it is kind of cool that it's on enter or attack, so that means you're going to immediately get some value off of it.
Yeah, it's
And
a
then
rogue.
If it sticks around,
I feel a little bad.
to do that, and so this sort of plays.
But hey, if
into,
they beat me,
you
it's
get
gonna
the right
feel
things
real
in
good for
Brave
them.
To reanimate, then that's, well, it's not even reanimate, it's creating a token that's a copy of it, so it's kind of different than that. That's also very fitting because Sin just like sort of just like swallows fucking everything into the void, so that's very like on theme, on flavor with this card too.
This one.
Their goal is to get 5 different names on the graveyard to summon their big boss, if I remember
When
correctly.
you see a big monster that says enters or attacks, you can consider that it can be cheated out on like turn 4 in standard right now, because that's the kind of format we have. So if you're cheating this out and you have like, if you have,
so you think there's potential here,
dude, if you have like 3 lands and 1 big monster in your graveyard, I'm thinking of a Valgavoth, for example, which is one of the biggest, nastiest things you can cheat out, then this can like get you 3 lands and a Valgavoth and itself. That's a lot. That's like, I mean, there was plenty of times where cheating out a Valgavoth was enough. It really was, and that was very good. I think also the fact that you can whiff, like maybe you don't hit the Valgavoth this time, you hit a land and then you hit some other card, right? But then the
I
next
can't
time
chain
you
anything
attack,
on
maybe you hit it
resolution.
next time, that's pretty good. Also, like big effect right now.
We're gonna
I
cook him
would say,
right
like,
here.
A lot of decks are using it, but a very good deck is using it. Is an edict effect, just makes you sacrifice a creature. And this brings another body, in theory, if you have another creature in your graveyard that you can get exiled with it, right? So there's 2 bodies, so removing one thing won't be good enough. It doesn't completely protect itself, but that's a form of protection. I don't know. It is a really cool card to reanimate. There are all...
It's cool it skips lands, too.
Yes. The fact that you also get that land. I'm trying to think, are there lands that you would want to somehow dump in your yard that like are better than the typical land ending up on your battlefield, right? Cool utility lands.
If this revival doesn't work, I have another way to revive.
It does create a token. There are a few cards in the format
Or
that
reborn,
tokens
excuse
or
me.
make copies of tokens specifically. That's interesting. It's a cool card.
Not
the big
that
monsters
scaper,
for the
gosh
longest time
darn
didn't have
it.
good enters effects because I think design just moved in a different direction. And then they just all came back at once in the last few years, starting with Atraxa, Grand Unifier. Some people will know that one. And that card is insane. It's basically a draw like 5 or 6 when it enters.
Oh, I'm in.
Oh yeah, and it's also a 7/7. It also has flying.
Oh.
So this thing is kind of competing with that.
Great.
So that's a lot better. But the point with this is if you have 3 lands, an Atraxa, and this in your graveyard, and you reanimate this, you get this and the Atraxa.
That's pretty cool.
That's insane. And then
That's really good. Yeah.
You
Oh, damn.
somehow get another thing in your graveyard. When you attack, you get to do it again. So
They know what they're
power.
doing. Holy shit.
One of those
Like, it
things that
demands
just
an
doesn't
answer.
stop
Otherwise,
happening.
it just gets out of control. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. This looks absolutely sweet. Also, this one kind of feels like a Magic card.
Does it?
If you change,
I would say so. From what you've showed me.
Yeah, you change the
This
names
is the end.
of the. You change the names on it to like some more Magic.
That was some beautiful sequencing on their end.
Yeah, it kind of works. And I think that's one thing people are afraid of with the Universes Beyond stuff is that they're going to have to play a Cloud deck in Standard when they don't want to. But if, like, this is a card in your Reanimator deck, it doesn't exactly feel like you have to live in Final Fantasy land to enjoy it. I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe I'm crazy.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I get what you mean because it's sort of like just detached from the world, and it's also this just ambiguous blob, right? Like everything else is just so stitched to the Final Fantasy lore, and like obviously Sin is. I'm not saying it's not, but if you squint and cover the name, you know, I think some people who didn't know what Final Fantasy was could think that this wasn't necessarily in the Final Fantasy universe. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a big honking Leviathan. Those are cool. Everybody loves those. I get the pleasure of showing you that double face cards are returning to the set. Do you?
Oh wait,
double-face
shit,
cards
I'm
in
stupid.
No.
You don't have to flip it over to read more cards. You just go get new cards.
You know, I'm kind of surprised Yu-Gi-Oh! Hasn't done that yet, considering we only have so much room in the text box. But let's just say I've got something special for you that I've been saving in my back pocket for one day. We'll get there.
Shit.
We'll get there.
Anyway, let's read a double face card.
This is Emmett Selch, Unsundered. This is a Final Fantasy 14 card, so I'm going to have no...
Yeah, damn it, it's too late. They already activated.
Assuming I've gotten anything that I've said thus far correct about the other Final Fantasies. But anyway, 1 in a blue and a black for a legendary creature, Elder Wizard. That is a 2/4 with Vigilance, and whenever it enters or attacks, you draw a card, then discard a card. We like that. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in your graveyard, you may transform it. And
That's
it transforms.
That's
That is
a lot of cards.
Into Hades, Sorcerer of Eld. Eld, or I'm assuming that's an L. It kind of looks like an uppercase I, but I'm pretty sure it's Eld. Which is a 6/6 legendary avatar. Again, still with Vigilance. And it has Echo of the Lost, which says during your turn, you may play cards from your graveyard. If a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. This card's sweet. This card's cool.
Damn. Yeah. The backside is crazy. That is some very famous Magic cards that have been broken in combo decks in the past on a 6/6 vigilant creature.
Funny.
Getting to play cards through your graveyard is no joke, including cast spells.
Let me ask this, because this is play cards from your graveyard, I'm assuming that means you can play lands as well? Because otherwise, if it was cast cards, you would not be able to do that, correct?
100% nailed it. Yep.
Okay,
I
cool.
mean,
we're learning.
It's
We're
nice
learning.
to get to play a land from your graveyard, and that is a good thing. And honestly, the more broken versions of this effect, like Underworld Breach, let you cast the card multiple times without exiling it.
Oh.
There he is.
But this, dude, there's gotta be some nasty things you can do with this.
Yeah, this screams abusable. Like, this screams, like, find the way to break this card.
Yeah, you mill yourself more, like you cast spells out of your graveyard that fill your graveyard more that you already wanted to play. So, like, there's Jace the Perfected Mind in Standard, which is a card I love to play that just mills you 15, just on its own. Just 4 mana, mill yourself 15 is a thing you can do. That could flip this on its own, and now you can potentially cast all of those cards.
I was about to say, how hard is it to get to 14 or more with a, reasonable time frame, I guess?
In normal Magic, very hard. And especially with the abilities on this card, just the draw 1, discard 1 on enters and attacks, meh. The body is okay, the vigilance is fine, and the draw discard is okay. All of that is fine, not great. So yeah, you need to be turbo milling yourself. Like, this does scream to be played with Jace. It almost has to be played with Jace because that is the way. You put this out there. When does it transform? At the beginning of your upkeep? It has to live.
That's rough too. Yeah, it has to survive. Or you have to like cheat it out during the end of a turn before your turn comes around. Yeah.
Yeah.
It also sucks it has to attack. It sucks you can't just like tap it to draw discard.
It is on enter though, and
they definitely know how the meta does its thing.
It has 4 toughness.
I do wish it had like flying or something, but what can you do? That's a fabulous coat, but those aren't wings.
Yeah, gotta go hit up our good old friend Tara for that flying.
Hell yeah. There you go. So
Cool card though.
It is a very cool card.
We seem to be liking the blue-black cards. Weird.
This one's a good commander. This one is a good commander because in commander, you can get away with, I play my commander, nobody kills it because something else is more pressing. I mill myself for some huge number, and then you protect it for like a turn cycle, or you find a way to flash that mill or to do that mill on end step. Then you transform this and win because clearly you got to this point. You can probably mill, you can use the cards you already spent milling yourself to mill another huge chunk of your deck and cast all those cards. That's pretty nuts.
Seems pretty good.
This is very much a Yawgmoth's will on a body. This
Oh
is a
my
commander.
god.
Like, it's in the main set, but it's a sneaky commander. This card is awesome. I don't know, man.
Cool.
That is a commander journey for sure.
Sick card.
This is just the most beautiful hand.
Where is this other card from?
Well, it's their turn to play solitaire, I guess.
Cards we're going to have
I deserve
because
this.
Complexity creep is a thing. Oh, you might know this one. But yeah, double face cards appeared originally, I think, and don't correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first double face cards in Magic were to represent werewolves in the plane of Innistrad, which was a
that
Gothic
makes
horror
sense.
plane. Yeah, so
That makes sense.
when it became nighttime, because like back then it was tied down how many spells you cast in a turn, which is kind of weird. They've tried some different iterations of it, but the werewolves would flip and you would get a stronger, typically body with different abilities. That was more
It's very
tied to
flavorful,
the
though.
theme.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, this is another double face card. I think it says Final Fantasy 1, so you might know this one.
No. Because
No?
it's Final Fantasy 1. That's why I won't know it.
What? You did? I
Like,
You never played the
like I
OG?
said, like, the oldest Final Fantasies are so old, and I played them so long ago. It's just been ages, so I'm just so out of it now.
So I'm supposed to know what this is. Is what
I
you're
don't have
saying.
any interaction,
Probably,
right? Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying. But this is Garland, Knight of Cornelia. Black and a red, so very cheap, because it is a legendary creature, human knight, so it could be a commander. 3/2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, surveil 1. And for 3, 2 black, and 2 red, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield transformed. Only as a sorcerer, though.
That's too much. That's a crazy
That's
amount
a
of
lot.
mana. What
That
are we?
is a ton.
What? I better be
What are we
busted.
transforming into?
Let's find out. Let's find out. It better be busted.
Chaos the Endless. You know, for such a cool name and a cool art, it kind of sucks.
5/5 flyer. Oh my god.
And when it dies, you put it on the bottom of its owner's library. How sad. How sad.
We can move on. We don't have to. All right. Here,
man.
the facts are the old games are nostalgic, but they weren't as good, right? That's how game design works. Or wait, no, you went on a rant that like back when games were like made well. That's what you did at the start of this video.
Yeah, about that.
Oh my gosh, okay.
man.
Dude, I was expecting, especially after the last card, like I was expecting a payoff, you know? I was expecting something better than go in your graveyard and cast all of your whole freaking graveyard and storm off. And I got a 5/5. That's kind of sad.
There you go.
It's just
I was
so
logged out
sad.
apparently.
The art and everything looks so cool, and that's all it does. Oh man. Who knows? Watch it be broken, and everyone can laugh at us in 2 years.
Probably.
Oh hell yeah! They have cactars. Oh, this is. Great.
I don't know what this is.
I'm sure you read the effect and you're like, what the
I
fuck?
have not read it yet, but I'm just
Oh,
looking
you
at the
haven't?
art.
Is that
I'm just
fucking
staring at the
Lacrima?
art. This seems like some
Ain't no
Fallout
way
shit.
they're also playing Fiendsmith and Memento
I'm gonna
now.
read it first for anyone who knows what a cactar is and isn't watching this, is listening to this. If they're
This guy's
actually
slow
reading the
playing,
word
it's all
at
hell.
work or something. They're gonna laugh because they're already gonna know where this is going. So this is Jumbo Cactar. This is 5 and 2 green
It
for
seems
1/7.
they're a little
That has the
inexperienced
ability
still.
10,000 needles,
Give them time, I
which says
suppose.
whenever this creature attacks, it gets plus 9,999 plus 0 until end of turn. And no, I did not misspeak.
Is this Digimon? What is happening to my game? What kind of a bonus is this?
Okay, so similar to the Chocobo, the Cactar are a recurring theme, a recurring, like, dumb character throughout Final Fantasy. And so, typically,
Finally, someone with the sense to make us name the assignment name first and then our name.
Typically in Final Fantasy games, you have like the maximum health you have is like 9,999. Sometimes it goes over that, but like if you play the game, you understand how that works. So the typical like regular Cactars always do like 1,000 damage. So they have to charge up their ability, and then they always shoot a bunch of like needles at you because they're cactuses, right? And then that's all they do. Like they don't really
Wait, what
have,
are
like,
they
any
doing?
other thing that they do. So
Actually,
they're kind of like this just giant meme because they all look like this, and then they sometimes.
why is
just
Moon
look
of the Closed
different.
Heaven
In this
here?
case, this is a jumbo Cactar. So instead of doing 1,000 damage, it does 10,000 damage because it's 10,000 needles, and so 9,999 plus 1 is
What is
10,000.
bro cooking?
This is very flavorful. This rocks. I love this.
It seems
When are you doing your Memento shit?
so meme,
Oh,
dude.
here we are.
I don't know, man. This is such a meme. Like, they've never has Magic the Gathering, especially
What
like
the
standard
fuck?
format, serious Magic players have never seen something go up to 10,000 power as an attack trigger. Like, what
But I think that begs the question, though, right? Like, at what point is it diminishing returns? Like, if something has 40 attack and is going to win the game,
Nothing
then
has
does it really
40
matter?
attack.
I'm just saying, like, does it matter at what point that number is, like, too much? It could go from 30 to 30,000, and it's going to basically do the same thing, right? So I think that's kind of like what the inspiration is here. I like it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it like... So we have cards like Sneak Attack and Through the Breach that are
Anguish.
some of our formats.
They're doing their
Like, you put a
Memento
creature
stuff
from
now.
your hand
It's
directly
gonna
onto
be
the
my turn to get
battlefield.
towers
You gain
turboed.
haste, and it can go face. And
That's very much like how it works, though, in the game, because sometimes if you're ill-equipped to deal with a jumbo Cactar and you encounter one, you have to run away because you can't fight it, and you'll die.
look, dude.
I think my
Okay.
goal is if we play Commander together, I think my goal is to kill you with this, just straight up.
Okay, God, see, this is what they're talking about. This is where I turn and I get on the side of the old people yelling at clouds. This is what we're talking about, okay? We have spent years getting like into our silly little hobby and using iconic characters like Emrakul that we sneak into play and attack you with. And those are our game enders. Those are our jumbo Cactars of our world, of our lore. And they have a totally different vibe from this weird mustache-looking watermelon. Okay? And that is the vibe we embrace. That is the vibe we know. And that, like, you're telling me I just can't, man. I'm already mad because I'm going to be watching a Modern or Legacy tournament and somebody's going to cast Through the Breach, and instead of sneaking out,
they're done.
Emrakul the motherfucking Aeon's Torn, the most, like, these respected titans of Magic history, instead of sneaking out Ulamog, the secret hunger, the ceaseless hunger, they're going to go, Jimbo Cactar you, attack for 10,000. And I already know it's going to happen.
What's Little Knight going to fucking do? If they banish any of my names, I fucking just play more.
It's Jumbo Cactar! Can you believe he attacked for 10,000? That's the largest attack in Pro Tour history! And I'm gonna be sitting here saying, It's bullshit because there's no way. There's no way it's not an Emrakul. How is this? No.
I think it's great.
Whoa.
I love it.
No. Oh, we have
They're letting it through.
dragons.
I guess they think I have a really good hand, which is kind of the only advantage that I have, huh?
And this, you're telling me it's harder than all of them. Not by a little. It's not close. Do you know what I went through to deal over 10,000 damage on MTG Arena? Do you know the quests?
Wait, did
Do
I
you know the
accidentally
decks
press
I
no?
built?
Fuck
Do
me.
you know the kind of looping of a God Eternal Ronus that doubles everything's power and toughness I went on to try to break the one-turn damage record on Arena? And then you tell me, boom, there's this. And it's
Well, it looks like you have
over.
to break it again,
Cat
buddy.
target doesn't really
I'm
matter.
telling you, it doesn't matter anymore. It's right there.
Does this guy have any
It's stupid.
protection?
I stand by
As a
how
Yu-Gi-Oh
stupid
player.
it is.
As a Yu-Gi-Oh player, breaking 10,000 damage is not that impressive. I'm just gonna say it, but you know.
Na na na
You know,
na na na
you want to come back on this show. This might be your last episode for that one. If I were a vindictive gamer, that might be your last. But no, I'm a benevolent gamer. I can take some shade.
I don't know. I feel like it's flavorful though, because like I said, when you're you're going through your journey in a game and you encounter one of these things, there's instances where like you just can't fight it, and like you have that sinking feeling of oh shit, and this conveys that same emotion. I don't know. I think they were pretty good with the flavor on it.
With how much you like it, I believe you. But I need to be an old man until I'm used to just some mustached watermelon, like I said, beating the tar out of me. All right, new card. Let's talk about a saga. Have you ever seen a saga?
Sure. Yes, because everyone made fun of me because I thought one of these was not that good, and apparently it was in every deck for like 5 years. So I do remember these. Yes.
Damn
So
it! Now
this
I have to
is,
remember what that was. Okay.
Something of the mirror.
Oh, reflection. Oh, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Yep.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Nice card. Do you know
So
what
anyway,
this is?
Yes, so this is Summon Shiva. This is from Final Fantasy X. So summons, for context, they're an ability that you learn as you go throughout the game. So typically your actions are like attacking, casting spells, using items. It's turn-based, right? So no, you hit your opponent, they hit you, yada yada. Later on, eventually, you learn about the summons, and these are recurring characters in a lot of Final Fantasies. And they're usually the same ones. Sometimes they're different. But basically, at some point, you sometimes fight them, and then you, inherit their power, and then you're able to,
What do you mean, what the fuck?
What in the fuck are they smoking?
Huh?
So, people,
I want to break their fucking board. That hand was so atrocious. I'm gonna blind go second against them.
The UN panel says that the Japanese are discriminating against women because they only had male, emperors.
Okay.
Why is that discrimination against women, Rusty?
It isn't. It's just politics has always been domineered by men, unfortunately.
I know, but because emperors
Not
are
unfortunately, just
it's literally gendered, Rusty. Obviously, only males can be emperors because the women are empresses.
I mean, there is still discrimination here, because, kings and emperors have more power than the empresses and the queens, unless it's chess.
Oh,
They're
Rusty.
technically not wrong, it's just...
Also, Rusty, Japan responded by saying it is not discrimination, since eligibility for the imperial throne is not included in basic human rights.
Nice. What the fuck?
The way the imperial throne is to be succeeded is a matter related to the fundamentals
Shit,
of
I
the
think
state.
they were fully
And it is not
expecting I would
appropriate
go
for the
first and went
community
for a
to take
piss
away
break.
household gods.
Okay, never mind, they're here. Still. Yeah, they're a little flabbergasted that I went second. I wish to break your stupid ass board. I know I can do it. The only reason they could get away with fucking full comboing was because I drew a stupidly bad hand.
I don't get it, Rusty. Why do they want people to be? Why? Why do they care? Why do they care about fucking emperors fucking being mostly male? Why? Why do they care about that?
There is reason I'd go into it, but right now I'm too busy trying to figure out what line I can use to break whatever board they're about to set up right now.
Rusty, Japan has been doing that for probably like hundreds of years.
So have we with our male-dominated presidents.
I
Well,
know,
we've
but
had
they're
some
not
women,
complaining about fucking
actually.
political figures. They're complaining about emperors.
Those are political figures.
No shit,
Why did
Rusty,
it
but I'm
take them
saying
forever to...
we don't have emperors here.
No, we don't.
Don't they also have kings in the fucking EU?
They sure do.
So
What's happening?
bec-
What the
just because
fuck?
they're fucking Rusty, just because their Queen Elizabeth lasted that long doesn't mean that they were fucking inclusive.
What happened to them?
They surrendered.
They sure fucking did. Did they break or something? They were all in on me going first, and because I said nah, I'm actually going second, and they just didn't know what the fuck to do. That's hilarious. Well, I mean, mission succeeded. I did technically break their board because they didn't set up anything. So hooray! Anyway, I'm gonna go now.